With Starling, Marte, Brandon Nimmo, and Mark Canha, this is set to be the best outfield the Mets have had in years, especially defensively. On today's show, I'm going to look back and try to pinpoint when is the last time the Mets have had an outfield this good. We'll also talk about how the Mets plan to line things up defensively this season. And also for a Throwback Thursday, we are once again joined by Rob Piersall of Mets Legends to remind you of some of the interesting names of the past that will bring a smile to your face. Covering all of that on today's edition of Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter at FinkelsteinRyan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, we saw Starling Marte finally get in a sim game today, although he's still not taking live cuts. He did get in the box, though, and went out and played some right field, which is very interesting because now we are starting to see how the Mets could be planning on lining things up defensively this season. And if you remember when I was talking about Marte before he even signed with the Mets, or even after they did finally sign him to that 4-year, $78 million deal, I have always envisioned Marte in right and Brandon Nimmo in center. And I understand the idea that maybe you'd want to keep Marte where he's played the last couple of years, where he was elite defensively last season. But when I look at the Mets outfield right now, it makes so much more sense to put Marte in right because he has by far the strongest arm of those three outfielders with Nimmo and Canha. And, if you put Mark Canha in right, that's not going to be the best defensively for this Mets team. That's honestly maybe even a slight step back from what you have with Michael Conforto. Brandon Nimmo can't play right field either because he doesn't have the strongest arm. So the best way to line things up is to put Mark Canha in left, put Brandon Nimmo back in center, where he was very solid defensively last year, and put Starling Marte in right, which in Citi Field is the toughest position to play. So I like seeing that. And with those three in place, three actual outfielders, this is set to be the best outfield the Mets have had in a really long time, particularly defensively. And that's what I wanted to do today, to just really grasp what this means for this team. Because I think at times we always focus so much on the offensive side of things, particularly this franchise has in recent years, playing infielders out of position, out in left. It felt like left field was just almost the Mets version of a DH, but you forgot the guy had to play the field. That's just going to be a designated hitter who's going to have to go out there and try to catch what's hit at him. That's what it was with the Dominic Smith, with the J.D. Davis, with a Lucas Duda previously, whether it was Jose Batista. A lot of names have come across and played left field for the Mets. It's just been that revolving door of bad defensive players. Now you don't have that. Plus, three above average on-base threats, really elite on-base threats, who can be positive contributors to the lineup. This is one of the reasons you have to be really excited about the Mets this year, because they have that elite outfield. And then you look at the infield defensively, even with Francisco Lindor as your shortstop. This is the best defensive team the Mets have put together in a really long time. Because it is a Throwback Thursday, I wanted to go back and just think, when was the last time the Mets had an outfield that was even comparable to this one? And if you look, it's very easy to poke holes every single year in some of these groups the Mets put out there, trying to compare them to what the Mets are going to put forth this season. So you go to last year, a ton of Dominic Smith in left field. Even Kevin Pillar no longer was a good defensive outfielder. So those two guys really did hold the Mets back last season. Nimmo was good. Conforto was good. But overall, the defense wasn't great out there. And of course, the production offensively wasn't in line with what you wanted either. 2020 was sneakily one of the best outfields the Mets have put together in a really long time. Because of the DH, they were able to play Jeff McNeil in left, and that was really a solid alignment with Nimmo in center. and Conforto and right. Nimmo did not grade out as an above average defensive outfielder that season, but I do think if that group was the Mets outfield this year, it would have been solid. But even then, Starling Marte is a better player than any of those three guys. So having him in the fold, having Mark Canha in the fold, it's certainly better than 2020. But that was honestly maybe the best outfield the Mets had since the final year we'll get to at the end here of when I actually found an outfield that was somewhat comparable to what the Mets are putting forth this season. You go to 2019, Dom and JD were pretty much the two left fielders. 2018, Jose Batista got a lot of run out there at, nearly 40 years old. He was in his late 30s. 2016 and 2017, Michael Conforto got significant playing time in center field. Before that, of course, 2015, we know how bad that team was in the outfield. Michael Kadire, just awful in the early parts of the season. They finally got better when they formed the outfield of Yoenis Cespedes, Michael Conforto, and Curtis Granderson. But defensively, Cespedes was not good out in center field. He was able to be manageable out there, but still that was more of an offensive decision than based on the defense. 2014, decent. Eric Young Jr., not the best left fielder, but decent, a speedster, great on the base pass. But you had Juan Lagares, a Gold Glove center fielder, which certainly gave you a really nice outfield defense with Curtis Granderson. So that was a decent group. But then you look at the offensive contributions, and Eric Young Jr. certainly doesn't hold up his end of the bargain when it comes to that. You go to 2013, it was pretty similar. Eric Young got a lot of run that year as well. Marlon Byrd was in there instead of Curtis Granderson. Byrd was never the best defensive outfielder either. 2010 through 2012, you don't have to look at any other names. Jason Bay played outfield for the Mets during those years, so those outfields sucked. It's just that simple. I'm sorry, Jason Bay. Actually, I'm not sorry, Jason Bay. 2009, Gary Sheffield at 40 was out there. 2008, you had Fernando Tatis, but not the really good one. Although Tatis had a decent couple years with the Mets there. Ryan Church was also in that outfield with Carlos Beltran, so not a great group. 2007, Moises Alou at 40 playing the outfield. Sean Green also at the latter stages of his career. This leads us to the last time the Mets had an outfield that I would call above average across the board, both defensively and offensively. 2006, 16 years ago. That was the last time. You had Carlos Beltran, a top 5 finisher in the MVP that year, won his first of 3 straight Gold Gloves out in center field. So that obviously anchored the outfield as he did for all of those seasons he was with the Mets, 2005 through the next 7 years after that. Endy Chavez, though, a big part of that Mets outfield. So to have the two of them defensively, that was a really great pairing. We all remember the catch that Endy Chavez made in that unfortunate game against the Cardinals, and the Mets lost the NLCS, where, if he was able to, or if the Mets were to pull that out, that catch maybe remembered even more, although it's still held in such high regard. Just an unbelievable play that he made, but he was a really solid fit for that team. You also had Xavier Nady and Cliff Floyd, who gave you something offensively. So that was the last group I look at that I would say that was a really good outfield. And maybe if you really want to just talk about the offensive prowess in the second half that Conforto, Granderson, and Cespedes provided in 2015, I think you can, throw that in there as well. But it just shows you why you need that. You need to have a quality outfield, just like you need to have a quality infield. But to be able to run down those fly balls in the gap, it just makes your team so much better. It helps your pitching staff so much. And so now you're in this position this year where you have Brandon Nimmo, who has improved so greatly out in center, Starling Marte, who, won a Gold Glove in the past and is an elite athlete, and Mark Canha, who might not be a Gold Glover, might not be considered the most elite of defensive outfielders, but he's certainly a huge upgrade over Dominic Smith out there. So with those three in place, I think that is one of the bedrocks of this team. If I look at, what the Mets have going into this season that I had the least doubts about, for me, it's the outfield and the starting rotation are the two places where I have the least amount of doubts. And I know that the rotation still has its question marks at the back end, and some would still point to injury concerns at the top of DeGrom. I'm past that personally. I saw enough the other night. But I look at the rotation in the outfield, and to me, I feel like I know what I'm going to get. I feel like the Mets are going to get above average production for both of those groups. I think the infield, there's more question marks only because we still, even though I have faith in him, don't know what Jeff McNeil is going to provide. And then also over at third base, Eduardo Escobar, you hope he's going to give you that pop. You hope he's going to continue to be at least an average defender, but he's not this elite, top 15 starting third baseman in baseball. He's good, but I wouldn't, put him into that category of really being a huge difference maker. I think he's solid. And then, Lindor and Pete is obviously where you get, the real upside in that infield. But the bottom line here is the Mets have constructed an outfield that I think is really going to help them this year. And it is one of the best outfields they have had in over 15 years. Now, for the rest of the show today, I will be joined by Rob Piersall for a new segment we've been doing. We started it off 2 weeks ago. He is back again. We're going to be talking about some Mets legends, and these names are certain to bring a smile to your face. Before we get to that, though, it is that time of year again as college basketball tournament is finally upon us. And from all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so we are here with another Throwback Thursday, and a new thing we're doing with Locked On Mets is we are partnering with my good friend Rob Piersall of Mets Legends to bring you some great names of the past that will just brighten your day on a Thursday. And so first, make sure you check out Mets Legends on Twitter, on Instagram. Check out their site, MetsLegends.com, where you can find great stories and just memories of players like, Wilmer Vinegar Bend Mizell. Who you tweeted something out. I don't remember if it was from your account or the show account or the Mets Legends account about just how names were better back in the day, and Vinegar Bend was one of them. And then we discovered that he was a Met.
Yep. Yeah, he was a Met. He was an early Met too. And so when I'm making every week I make a schedule for things that need to be posted for Mets Legends during the week. So like videos I'll be posting or graphics that my team will make up. And so I look up like what birthdays are coming up or like if someone notable had passed away on the date like that week or whatever it is. There's a lot of cool resources out there, but Baseball Reference basically tells you like each day what like throughout history what players were born. So it's really cool to see because you can go back and like it goes like kind of like from chronological order. So like early on, like at the bottom of the list, it's like players from the beginning of baseball. And these guys just had like, I don't know what it was, but they all had these ridiculous nicknames.
Ridiculous.
So like Boardwalk Brown was another guy that like I had posted.
Yep.
He was from like New Jersey too. And I'm like, this is just such a perfect name. And I was so mad because there was someone who had like a crazy cool nickname and I forgot to write it down. And now I can't remember if it was like his birthday had just passed or he had passed away on this date. So like I was trying to look back and find it, but it was like his nickname was like submarine or like rocket ship.
Oh yeah.
Like that. And so I'll have to find that at some point, but yeah, Vinegar Bend Mizell. I think maybe it's pronounced early Met. And you discovered that his name was actually Wilmer. And
Yep.
so we were like, he was such a Met, like having a nickname like that, being named Wilmer, like just like
Everything about him.
Storm. It was
Well,
so good.
if you go to his Baseball Reference, it does not say Wilmer. It just says Vinegar Bend Mizell or whatever.
Yeah.
And then so I'm like, there's no way any parent in any era, any year could have possibly named their kid Vinegar. There's just no way. It's not possible. So then when I looked it up, I found out not only is Wilmer a former Met from the 1962 team, he also served in like the House. Like,
oh, he was a politician too?
Yeah.
What?
Was an American athlete and politician. He served 6 years after retiring from baseball. He was elected into the United States House of Representatives from North Carolina.
Oh my God.
Served 3 terms as a Republican from 1969 to 1965. So Wilmer just a very interesting man with a lot of different talents, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man. See, that era of baseball, I don't know if you're in the same boat as me. Like that era of Mets baseball, I don't really know as well as
Oh yeah, me neither.
like from like the 80s on. Like I pretty much know Mets baseball better, but like before that, like the 70s and the 60s, it's like other than like the really popular players, like some of those early Mets teams that were just like pits of despair, I don't know much about. So I remember I had first found out about Vinegar Bend Mizell like years ago, and then I forgot what his name was, and it popped back into my head one time, and I was like, I was trying to figure out like how to look him up, and I knew that it was like his name sounded like a town or something like that, or like a street. So I was like, was his name Newport News? Was his name Chevy Chase? Like I couldn't like I was like, and then then I found that it was like Vinegar, but I was like, oh, that's way better anyway. So
it's crazy, man. Some of those, it's baseball back in the day. It was almost like a summer camp was major. It's just a bunch of guys just playing these games and I guess going by their nicknames, and it's just it's a completely different time.
Yeah, I like think about professional baseball from back then. It's just like these guys like playing at these local fields, like not these big stadiums, like playing baseball all day and then like going to the pub and just like drinking beer and like I don't know, like that's probably how they came up with their nicknames, just like being drunk and like fooling around with each other and like I don't know, just like this gritty like it's kind of a nice like thing to think about though, because it's like I always picture it as like this nice sunny day and like the summer and like them going to the pub and all being like jolly. And that's kind of just how I think about the early days of baseball.
It's crazy. I mean, I did a lot of stuff recently where I was going through like is the 300 win club dead? And you really dive into it, and the 300 win club is so many different guys from the dead ball era where they're throwing this baseball that they could scuff up however they wanted to. It was the ball by the seventh inning was caked in dirt. They never even changed out baseballs unless it literally exploded. So it's just crazy, like how different it was and how it's all in the history books the same.
Yep.
But
It's like a
some of the
completely different game. And
completely different.
I know that Adam Ottavino gets a lot of flack for like saying that he would strike Babe Ruth out every time, but it's simply a fact. I mean, Babe Ruth never saw guys throwing as hard as guys throw now. And obviously, like it is kind of hard to compare the two because you're like if Babe Ruth played now, like he probably would have better like skill, a better skill set. Like he'd be stronger. There's better ways of like adjusting to the time period. But yeah, it is interesting. Like that it's all the same game, but it's changed so much.
Yeah.
I remember even Bob Gibson saying like pitching like when he was young, pitching games and his team would score him one run and then the offense would literally say to him, all right, now go hold it. That's it. That's your run. That's it. Go hold it. And it's like, it's very DeGrom-esque because I feel like that's like every DeGrom start. Normally he's the one scoring his own run, which won't be possible now, but it's just like crazy that there's no leeway at all. It really was a dead ball era.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, that's those early days were just ridiculous. But what we want to do now is I want you to throw some Mets legends at me. So hit me with the best you got today. What are some of the Mets legends of the past that you're gonna surprise me with here?
So does Vinegar Bend Mizell count, or do you want me to do other ones completely?
I think we should do some other ones. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
mix it up now.
All right. So I was looking at the 2018 team recently, and someone who I forgot about, Chris Beck.
Chris Beck.
Yeah, Chris Beck.
I don't even remember him either. When did Chris Beck make an appearance?
Relief pitcher from 2018. Mets claimed him off waivers from the Chicago White Sox. I don't think he pitched in that many games for them, but he was terrible. He was so bad.
Oh, look at him now. 5.23. Oh man, what's funny though? Both Chris Beck and Wilmer Mizell or Vinegar Bend have something in common. Last pitch in Major League Baseball thrown as a Met. Ended their careers.
Yep. Chris Beck, I remember that was like the 2018 team was very frustrating because they just had guys like that, and it was just so disheartening to watch.
Oh yeah. Well, you just mentioned DeGrom. That was DeGrom's first Cy Young year. That was the only thing to watch, and I don't even think I watched that. To be completely honest with you, I think I checked out on that season.
It's brutal.
When Sandy stepped down, I don't remember much after that. To be honest with you,
they had that triumvirate of like GMs too, like John Rico, Omar Minaya, and whoever else it was.
And they traded for nothing but relief pitching prospects.
So bad.
Drew Smith, though. Drew Smith,
Drew
the net
Smith.
result of all of that.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next legend for me?
All right, same season, Buddy Bauman.
Oh, I remember him. I
Yeah.
remember Buddy. Oh man, that guy looked like a buddy.
He looked like a Buddy, real baseball name. I like how the Mets have these pitchers named Buddy too, like Buddy Carlisle, if you remember.
I was just thinking that Buddy
Yeah,
Carlisle.
Buddy
Yes,
But
I was picturing Buddy Carlisle, and I couldn't remember his last time. I was like, who is that other Buddy?
Yeah, Buddy Carlisle, Buddy Bauman. He wore the stirrups, I remember, and he had like he threw like sidearm. And I remember this one game. I'm not even joking you. I had a mental breakdown during this game. They were playing the Chicago Cubs in the summer of that year, and Buddy Bauman was out there just absolutely getting lit up. And I remember just being like, I have to turn this off. I cannot watch this anymore.
Sometimes you have to. Those are some sad, especially in that year, 2018. Is our third guy also from 2018 here?
No, I'm going to drop it back a little bit.
Okay, what you got?
Prentice Redmond.
Prentice Redmond.
Yeah.
No idea. No idea.
So he was an outfielder, I believe, on the 2002 squad. And I remember I was actually at a game with my dad in Shea Stadium in like September, and Prentice Redmond had like just gotten called up. And back then it's like,
was there hype?
So that 2002 team was so bad. Me and my dad we went to 18 games that year because people were just giving their tickets to us because the Mets were so bad. And it was like the first like really full year I remember like consciously following baseball and just going to all these games. And like that's when I started to like know the players and stuff. And I remember Prentice Redmond got called up and I was like, who is this guy? And in my mind, I thought he was going to be like a stud, but he probably was not even a highly ranked prospect.
As someone who's known you for a little bit now, it does not surprise me at all that you fell in love with the Prentice Redmond Mets.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely some fond memories. I actually found one of his autographed cards on eBay recently, and I bought it. And it was like more than I wanted to pay for it, but I was like, how often do you have a Prentice Redmond card?
My question is, did shipping cost more than the cost of the card?
Yes, 100%. It was like a $2 card with $5 shipping, and I was like, I'm just going to do it, whatever.
Oh, man, that's funny. All right, we got, what, 2 more left?
2 more. All right. Same era. Essex Sneed.
That one I've heard of, but I don't know anything about him. I heard the name, though.
So, Essex Sneed.
Wait, you're saying same era? You're saying 2003 era?
Like 2002. I think he came up in 01 and 02 and then again in 04.
Essex Sneed sounds like he should be playing with Vinegar Bend.
I know, right? Yeah, no, this is like an early 2000s outfielder, Essex Sneed.
Oh, man, that's funny.
So he's perhaps best known for, he didn't have much time in the majors as a Met. Like he was kind of like a cup of coffee guy.
Yeah.
But he had a walk-off home run against the Montreal Expos, I believe in 2002, like at the end of the year. And the only footage of it I could ever find is on YouTube. It's like this VHS copy that someone put on YouTube. And like, it cuts out right before he hits the home run, and then you just see him running the bases. And I wanted to post it on Mets Legends so bad, but it's like it's not even a good video. So
it's not even worth it. Man.
Maybe someone one day will have a better footage of it.
You know what position it says on Baseball Reference? Essex Sneed plays. It says he's a pinch runner.
Pinch runner, yeah. He was fast. He was like,
hey,
that was
308 average. 3 for 14. Didn't get enough run.
Yeah. So was he on the Mets in 01 and 02 and then 04?
Yeah, so 02 was his only season where he got like legitimate playing time, and then he scored a run and played a game in 2004, obviously in that great role of being a pinch runner. Man, that's funny though. 357 on base percentage, 538 slugging, a home run, and 4. I mean, what did the Mets do? I mean, 2002, they could have given Essex some more run.
They were too busy giving Roberto Alomar and Mo Vaughn and
Jeremy Burnett,
Roger Cedeno playing time.
That was the team that made me hate. Like, you know what it is? That was the team where I grew up on the early like 99. Like that was my first coming to consciousness of the Mets was the Ventura and Alfonso Piazza Mets. That was where I was like, oh, this is what it's like to be a Mets fan. When they got Burnett's and Mo Vaughn and all those guys.
Yeah, that was rough. And that's kind of like like I think 01 I started following the Mets, and then 2002 is really the team that I have real consciousness of, and they were just so bad. And like you kind of don't know any better though, because it's like if that's what you're starting off with, like you don't really know that it's. And then 2006 happened. You're like, oh, this is really what it's supposed to feel like.
Exactly. That was when it all came together. All
All
right,
right,
who is our last legend of the day here?
all right. I gotta brainstorm a good one now. I like to go into this kind of like just off the head because I feel like it's not as fun otherwise. So,
It's
uh,
impressive. You come up with them that quick like that.
oh yeah. All right. So let's see now. Whew. All right. I'm gonna. You know what? Give me a year. Give me a year, and I'll pull a random Met out of it.
Wow. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to think. We're gonna go 2010.
2010. Okay. That team had some rough players. I'm gonna go with Daniel Ray Herrera on the 2010 Mets.
Very impressive. You could pull Daniel Ray Herrera like that. I don't even remember him at all.
Can you corroborate that was he was 2010 and not 2011?
Yeah, Baseball Reference isn't even pulling this guy up. Some of these guys are so obscure that you have to Google them instead of looking them up on baseball. It's like Baseball Reference can't pick it up. All right, he is a left-handed pitcher, Danny Herrera
Yeah, Danny Herrera.
from Odessa, Texas. He was a Met in 2011. I'll give it to you. You're a year off, but
2011. So he was acquired.
1.13 ERA
He
in
was
8 innings, though.
he was I remember his thing. He was very short. Like he was like 5'8" or something like that, or 5'7", and he was acquired from
5'6", even shorter.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he was really short, and I remember that because it was like not many guys that are pitchers are that short. But he was acquired for K-Rod for Francisco Rodriguez
Wow.
from the Brewers, I think. So that's how I remember him. Yeah, Daniel Ray Herrera.
I mean, I threw 2010 at you. You got me a pitcher who had only thrown 8 innings with the Mets in 2011. I think that's close enough.
Yeah.
This is why Mets Legends is such a cool site to follow. Cool follow on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. So make sure you check that out. Rob Piersall is doing great work. Also a podcast as well, Mets Legends, and he'll be back with us hopefully next week for some more Mets Legends. So
absolutely,
looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Always good talking to you, man.
That's going to be all for today's edition of Locked On Mets. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB, hosted by Paul Francis Sullivan, but we call him Sully. Locked On MLB is where you want to go for all of your news when it comes to Major League Baseball and also your looks back into the past of Major League Baseball. You can follow Locked On MLB wherever you get podcasts.